All right, so this was maybe not the most interesting event of the year, but it was a very good one with great disc golf. Let's get into it. So let's get into MPO first because FPO didn't really have a whole lot of interesting things going on. So first off, it has to be freaking Jeremy Kolin. Big Jerm was showing himself to be an elite level player for the first time in a long time. And it was actually noted that he has not made a podium finish since 2019. So I definitely thought that this was a shocking performance, especially looking at the putts he was making. He was just not missing one bit. And I had a serious hope that he might be able to break the streak, but that was not quite the case because he did finish in 10th place with a couple of bogeys, 3 OBs, and a poor finish, making it very hard to get in that top 3 finish, finishing his round with 7 under. Still a great performance, but I would still like to see him light it up at potentially say Worlds because I still think he has a good skill set. It just doesn't get shown off very much because he's not really on live all that often. Next up would be Kyle Klein, and he definitely had a scorcher of a final round with 12 under, including no bogeys with 1 OB, and he was basically just making it look super easy. Didn't have a great circle 1, didn't have a great circle 2, but just hit his lines very well and got those putts when you absolutely need them to. I think this is definitely a good performance from him, and it shows that even though he has a couple of flaky tournaments where he doesn't finish that great, he's still an elite level player that can win or get close to the win week after week. And with an astounding 7 birdies to end the tournament, a great finish for him. And I think even though he wasn't really in the conversation all that much this weekend, he still had a great performance, and I'm very excited for him. And then we have Kevin Jones. I definitely wanted him to take the win after he's won this event in 2019, got 3rd place in 2021. I thought there was really a chance he could finish super strong, take down some strokes off the lead card, and get the win. But ultimately, Kevin is kind of in that slump, and I don't really know what's happening because he has great drives, he has great putts, but then he just has those weird moments where he misses a circle 1 putt that he shouldn't be missing, or he hits first available, and you just cannot be doing that when you're on the lead card fighting for the win, and especially at a course that I know he does so well at. I wanted him to really take down this win, but with his worst round of the entire tournament, it just wasn't going to happen. With only 3 under in his front 9, that was losing a lot of strokes to the rest of the field, including Gannon and Calvin, so he really did not have any way to catch up for the win, but he still did finish pretty strong, getting 5 birdies on his back 9, and with some insane grenades and some great shots, albeit a little luck, it's still a great performance. But the real downside here was just his level of consistency, only 14% from circle 2. We definitely know Jump Putt Jones has a lot more consistency in his belt. It just was not being shown today. And even though he was fighting for the win, ends up in 7th place. And just a quick little shout out, even though these people were not really in contention, Nico and Yuli did find a way to get 13 under in their final round, putting them in the top 10. Great stuff from them, and I really don't know how they did it on such a difficult course. But let's get to the big 3. Isaac, Calvin, and Gannon. Right off the bat, it was looking like it was going to be a pretty close race, but Gannon was pulling ahead just a little bit through every hole, and especially with Isaac's putt on hole 2, goes into the water, getting a bogey when you absolutely need birdies, and Calvin getting a par as well. Through the first 3 holes, Gannon had already gained 3 strokes through 3 against Calvin and Isaac, so that was not looking good for the chances for everybody else in the field. So it was looking like it was probably going to be a pretty similar event to last weekend where Cole just totally destroyed final round, even though he was in the lead with a couple of strokes. And Gannon is really not somebody you want to give any strokes to, because once he gets a little bit ahead, it is very hard for anyone to take down a champ like him who just does not miss putts, doesn't really miss drives, gets a couple of unlucky breaks, but for the most part is very consistent. But with that said, Calvin and Isaac were making a very good push towards the middle section of the tournament. It was looking like they might pull close with a good series of birdies throughout the entire middle section, but ultimately were stopped on hole 13 where Calvin went double OB and Isaac just missed his lines, missed a circle 2 putt, and took the bogey. So even though there was 5 holes left, it was kind of a done deal because you know Gannon is just not going to give up strokes, where he has that friendly rivalry against Isaac, and you just know that he's just not that type of person to really give up in the back 9 when he's in the lead. So even though Calvin was jamming in great putts, getting a 60-foot eagle on hole 16, insane stuff. Like, I know we had some good eagles throughout the entire tournament, but Calvin getting that just really felt like that ace from last weekend, where it doesn't seem possible for a person fighting for the win to get a crazy shot like this, but Calvin just does it week after week. And Isaac just kind of played very smooth, played his game, got some good looks, made some easy putts for birdies, and ended with 4 birdies to end the tournament, putting him at 3rd place at 28 under. And then we had Calvin on hole 17 missing a very gettable birdie putt, and there was a good amount of build up to that because Gannon was going out of bounds on his hole 17 drive, and you thought he might miss it. Calvin might get the birdie, making it a 1 stroke difference on hole 18, but ultimately that was not the case. They both got pars, and Gannon was able to play it pretty easy on hole 18, making it a very gettable birdie putt. Ultimately, he chains out in the most hilarious fashion because it didn't matter, but if it did, that would have been very crazy. All in all, Calvin gets 30 under, Gannon gets 32 under, marking the third win for Gannon. So while this is the second week in a row where Calvin falls short to the leader, I think it still is that similar trend where the leader is just playing so hot that you really can't have too much sadness about your round, because Calvin did play great. Sure, he had a couple of OBs that you really just can't have when you're fighting for the lead, but he had so many good putts, 100% circle one, and he was looking pretty darn confident. And for me, if Calvin is looking confident, I really don't have too many gripes. I think Gannon is certainly happy with his finish, even though he did mention in his interview, I think he said he was like one stroke short of Isaac's finish last year, but still a great finish. And just looking back at Gannon's last very close tournament at the Mid-America Open, where he was so close to taking it down, but just misses a 20-footer for the win against Presnell. You really have to shake it off, build your game, and accept what happened in the past. I think this is a great show of that. And if you're watching live, you know how darn good he was from Circle 2. He finished 60% total on his tournament in Circle 2, 4 of those Circle 2 putts being within the first 5 holes of round 3 when you absolutely need to gain strokes on the field. This really is a very confident Gannon Buhr, and I think his putts were so clean and so smooth that it really felt like it was just inevitable. It was kind of like when Paul had that dialed in mindset where he was not missing any putts no matter how far away they were. Gannon is certainly having a couple of tournaments where that feeling is certainly coming into play, where you just don't really know where he's going to miss any putts. In an entire tournament, he is just so consistent. And I think, similar to Paul, when he is playing his most confident self, there is nobody that can take him down at this moment, even with Calvin making 60 footers. So for FPO, there really wasn't too much suspense throughout the entire tournament because Valerie was playing pretty hot. Had a sort of bad round in round 2 with only 1 under, with 0% from Circle 2, but she did finish her final round with 87% from Circle 1, putting her at 1 under, which may not sound like the hottest of rounds, but she did actually have the hottest round of the day, matching her and 4 other women. And even though Owen was making a very good push towards Valerie in the front 9, she just fell a little bit short, getting a double on hole 13, but knowing Owen, she just never misses from anywhere, and she jams in every putt for the remainder of the round, and especially a 38-footer on hole 17, even though the win was kind of inevitable towards Valerie. So with Val's 3 under final round, there was just no way anybody was going to come anywhere close to her score, and it really felt like a Kristen-esque final round where the winner was kind of already known from hole 1. And I think a very good note of Valerie's round was her interview where she mentioned that she was just not really feeling it. She wasn't really in the right mindset. She talked with some people about how she wasn't even sure she wanted to like play in this tournament because she just was not feeling the best, but she's had a good mindset, didn't really worry about scores, just wanted to play her game and not focus on any of the minutia that comes into a tournament. This really allowed her to play excellent, and she finishes first with 6 strokes ahead of Owen.
Honestly, I'm not too sure. I'm still trying to think about it. I came into this tournament where I didn't want to play, if I'm being honest. I just didn't feel like it was my week, and I called my mom and I told her, and she's like, you felt the same way in Portland and you managed to pull it off, so maybe this is your week. And so I think I went into this week just with no expectations and just trying to throw the disc as well as I can and how I remember, and I feel like I finally got the rhythm of it.
So all in all, a great tournament, even though we kind of had an inevitable winner from hole 1. Still great stuff. I love Idlewild, and how many holes feel like they are fair but could go 50-50 one way or another, like Isaac's missed putt on hole 2 or Gannon's drive on hole 17 that went very clear to the basket but just rolls straight OB. And I love to see Big Jerm making a push towards the win because we just don't often see that very much. And speaking of come from behind players, there's a new player in town, Miss Frisbees. I don't really watch too much of her content, but she does post consistently on YouTube, and she actually got a top 10 finish. So love to see it. Fellow YouTubers out there, I hope to see Anthony Bedanza making a push towards the top 10 finish as well. Might be a little bit more of a ways away. So with that said, what do you guys think about this tournament? Did you watch it? Did you kind of think, I kind of already know what's going to happen, I won't really give it too much? Or are you kind of like me, where you're just kind of enthralled by the level of play that has to happen at this course and how many narrow shots there are? I just love that kind of, and that wooden part of disc golf that we rarely get to see on tour. But with that, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe. Wild Runs, signing out. Peace.
Oh, look at you, dude.